So today God prompted me to push out this video. I only do 20 prompts. But today I happened to see a bunch of times online and, actually a whole bunch of times online that basically there's pastors that are saying that women should basically be barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen, which is kind of an old school thing, but it's not biblical at all. I mean, there are variants on what people believe as far as, women in the Bible. And some of them believe that they shouldn't be preachers or shouldn't be elders, or there's different degrees of those types of things that people say. And you know what? They can find some quotes in the Bible and they can kind of work with it. But when you think of Jesus and his ministry in the New Testament, women were a big part of his ministry. He had a woman who was funding his ministry. When the disciples went out and talked to people, the women also went out as well. So as far as, women being at home and pregnant and in the kitchen, those pastors need to stop. And if you have a pastor who does those types of things and tweets out things like that, of saying women should be home and managing the home and that's all they should do, then you need to call them out. You need to say, where's the verses for this? What verses do you have for this? And how do you then grant some of the things of Jesus and point them back at them and say, well, how do you condone what Jesus did here then? Are you saying that Jesus was doing the wrong thing? And in which case then, you've got them into a little bit of a thing, because now they can't really say anything about it. And then I do follow another pastor. If we stop following the pastors that are saying these things, then their churches will dwindle and it'll go away. Support the pastors that are supportive of women in workplace, in the church serving. That you may not believe that they should be an elder, or you may not believe that they should preach, but I mean, women should be part of teaching Sunday school and things like that. They can be part of. And some churches, as far as I believe that they should be able to be pastors. They should be able to be members of the board. Now, Paul did point out that specifically an elder, and he gave description of what an elder is, needs to be a man. And he was very specific on that. So, I mean, I agree with that in scripture. But, if I'm going to a church and they have a woman that's an elder, it doesn't bother me as much. I mean, it's not hurting the salvation of people that are coming to the church. The key thing here is we need to focus on the Great Commission. We need to be spreading the gospel, and that's the important thing. All these other things that are divisive, and all these other things that are like, pushing people down, saying, oh, well, you know what? Not only are you saved by grace, but you need to be home and you need to be in the household and you need to be, if you're a woman. That's not biblical. Biblical is saved by grace alone, and that's it, right? But, as far as, women in the church, then you get the idea of what kind of role they can have in the church. But as far as women outside of the church, I believe they should be able to work, they should be able to do sports, they should be able to do all other things they want to do. Now, if a woman says with her husband, hey, I want to be at home, I want to raise my kids at home, I don't want to work because I want to spend time with my kids, so be it. That's a decision that you made. It's a choice that you made. It's not being imposed on you by some biblical verses that don't exist. So that's my point today is, women, if you're in a church and this is the way your pastor is speaking, switch churches. If everybody leaves that church, either the pastor's going to start changing his message to be more biblical, or his church is going to go away, in which case you're solving the problem, right? Churches that are teaching things that are pushing people down and stuff like that need to be closed. That's my point. Anyway, that's all I got.